So it's the last Friday of the month, and that means that it's Font Friday. God, it's warm in here. If you're new, welcome. I'm Adam. I'm a graphic designer and logo designer. I've got some really cool, nice fonts coming up in this episode. They're all available on Creative Markets. There will be links to them in the description below. So yeah, let's get into it. First up, I've got a font called Kicking Horse. It's by Greg Nichols. I came across this because I've been working on a chicken restaurant branding, and I wanted something that was sort of old America style stuff to go with the fried chicken business. Kind of cliche, but that's what the client was after. So a couple of these fonts are very much geared towards that kind of style, and this one in particular, Kicking Horse, is it's very much that American sort of style. So I like this one. This one really stood out to me because it was perfectly bold and rustic, but in addition to that, it comes with 4 different styles. It's got a rounded, a grunge, a worn, and an extra worn, and that means that you can just sort of mix and match between the different types of styles without having to do a load of extra work with adding grunge in after you've sort of put your copy in or your titles in. So yeah, I really like it for that fact that, you know, it's feature rich in that regard. It's only an uppercase set, which to some people might be a little bit restrictive, but for this particular job that was fine because it's only ever going to be used for titles on menus or header boards or any kind of directional signage or things like that. So yeah, this one was perfect for that. I think this particular font, it will work great as overlaid text, with all the sort of negative space out of each character. On the more grungy ones, you can obviously layer up some really nice designs to sort of create a really strong vintage look. That's Kicking Horse, highly recommended. Absolutely solid font, looks great in this project. Sticking with that chicken shop theme, I was still looking at sort of grunge fonts and that kind of style. So the next one that I've got for you is another one by Greg Nichols called Woodcrafter Sans. And once again, it's an uppercase font. It comes in 4 separate styles, but this time he's done away with the grunge, and you get a standard, a condensed, an extra condensed, and a bold style. There's a little texture on the edges, but way less grunge than on his other font, Kicking Horse. This is a very rounded font, and it kind of looks as though it's been screen printed and worn away those sort of sharp edges. So it's really, really soft, really, really cool. This font was definitely designed with those vintage stack logos in mind. And if you're looking for a good solid font to start off a logo like that, I'd definitely recommend Woodcrafter. Yeah, another great font from Greg Nichols. So moving on from the vintage fonts, I've been looking for something that's like a good copy, highly legible typeface, something that's going to work well in print and on screen. And I've come across Aventa. Why are these always so difficult to say? Aventa Geometric by Ellen Luff, which is a variable font. If you've got Illustrator or Photoshop, you're actually able to take advantage of the variable fonts that are out there now. So basically with that, what it means is that you can select just one font and change the weight of it just using a slider. This means that you're not restricted by having separate fonts, for instance, thin, regular, bold, extra bold. And And basically all you do is you just select your variable width font, which is just the one font, and then just use a slider which will go from whatever extremes the font designer's made. So in this instance, Aventa Geometric goes from thin to black. So that means that using that slider, you can select anywhere in between thin and the black versions at any increment, which is really cool. I was drawn to this one simply because of its legibility. It also looks like it takes influence from Futura, Helvetica, Gotham, and maybe with a little hint of avant-garde too, which are all great fonts. So mixing them, yeah, it's all good. In particular, I like how the endpoints on the uppercase letters, such as the A and the N, have been chopped off. So that gives it like a bit of a wider finish at the end point. So instead of like on a normal A or a V or anything like that, it might overhang. You might have an overshoot. This one doesn't. So they take off that overshoot and leave it really kind of sharp and stark at the end points, which gives it a really different look, really cool. This font's a little bit more expensive than the previous fonts, but it's feature packed. You know, it's got stylistic sets, it's got italics, it's got all the separate weights as well, if you're not using the software to be able to use that variable weight. And obviously the variable weight font is in there too. So yeah, it's an awesome font. Super cool, super clean, and yeah, go check that one out. So that one is Aventa Geometric by Eleanor Luff. So this next font is something that I wouldn't really take any notice of generally, but it caught my eye after watching a font designer called Mark Davis on one of the latest Future videos, and he was making a font very similar to this one. This one is, it's another really difficult name. So this one is Ravensara Stencil. Now I'm not a fan of stencil fonts at all generally, but I think this one's a little bit different. It's a really strong serif font, hugely influenced by, I think, Baskerville, which is one of my all-time favourite serif fonts. I really like how turning this into a stencil accentuates the serifs. Obviously that's because that's sort of all that's left, other than the thick stems. But yeah, it just draws your attention to how sharp those serifs are. This font will work as a really good logo type, with very little extra treatment needing to be done if you're going for that clean sort of look. I can easily see this being used on fashion projects or even on a high-end restaurant. The stencil version comes as one of 3 parts, which are all sold separately. The others are the Ravensara standard serif, and there's also a Sans-Serif version of the same font where the designer has simply just removed the serifs. I'm not sure I like that version. I think it loses a lot of its character by taking out those serifs. The stencil version though of these, it's just super cool. I'm really into this, even though it is definitely not something that I would usually like. So yeah, go check that one out. Really cool stencil font called Ravensara Stencil by Naum Type. I think I've said that correctly. I don't know. All the fonts that we've seen today are all available on Creative Markets, and because I'm nice, I've even given you links to each one in the description below, just to make your lives a little bit easier. I'm also a type designer and a font designer, so you can go and check out my stuff on Creative Markets as well. Again, there's a link in the description below. So yeah, I'd really appreciate it if you could go give those a little look. So that's it for this one. If you've got any recommendations, please pop some ideas in the comments for me. It's always really good to find out what other people are loving as well. If you like this, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, just so you don't miss next month's Font Friday. All that's left to say is cheers, take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.